everybody. Добрый вечер, дорогие друзья. Everybody, welcome. Right now we're doing Gorsky Wednesday project, educational project for Caucasian Jews and their friends. Everybody, welcome. Tonight we have a very special topic and very special speaker. This week's Torah portion, I'm going to read about Matan Torah. Hashem gave us Torah, and every year we celebrate this in the holiday of Shavuot. And there's a custom to eat dairy foods. Why we eat dairy foods? Anybody knows? One of the main reasons is that the Jewish people, when they got the Torah, they didn't have sufficient skills and time to master this art of Shehita. Shehita means a special way to slaughter the animal in a way which is kosher. So they had to eat dairy foods, they had to eat cheese, they had to eat butter, they had to eat milk, whatever they could eat, matzoni, whatever, kefir. They cannot eat meat. Why? Because it takes time to learn how to be shofet, how to be a person who knows how to slaughter in a way which is kasher. You know, I work with non-Jews a lot of time, and they ask me, you know, what makes something kosher? You know, it's just the rabbi. They think they have a perception that the rabbi has to come and say a prayer, and then suddenly the food becomes kosher. This is the furthest from truth which can be. There is a bracha when a person makes a shehita, if I'm correct, maybe. And there are some, but there is so much more to it, and there are so many steps between when the animal, you know, when the animal is slaughtered, there's a shehita until it gets on a table. There's salting involved, there's checking the lungs and the other parts of the body, which the rabbi will share with us. And today we have a very, very special rabbi. Special speaker of Moshe Yurman with many years of experience, with over 30 years, close to 40 years of experience doing Shehita. He's a really known name in the Jewish world. He not only knows how to do Shehita, he does it very well, he also makes knives for the other shoftim, other professionals who make Shehita in the field. He worked for Empire Kosher, the biggest kosher meat processing plant. For many years, and he's really been around the corner. He'll tell you a little bit about himself, hopefully, and there's nobody really, not too many people who are that qualified to tell us about the kosher meat process as Rabbi Yurman. Without any further ado, Rabbi Moshe Yurman, thank you very much. You can sit or stand wherever you feel comfortable.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You talk about Shehita. Shehita is very important. But before Shehita, we really have to talk about kosher. People have to eat kosher. The Torah tells us we have to eat kosher. Some things are kosher, some things are not. Why is kosher so important? Before we get into the particulars, the small parts, malinka, the little pieces, malinka, the small pieces. But why kosher? Why do we want to eat kosher? What's the difference? Kosher is a very strange item. I could put on the table 2 bottles of wine, vino. You make vino, you take grapes, you crush the grapes, you get the juice, and it turns into vino. 1 bottle kosher, 1 bottle not kosher. All that's in the vino is grape juice. 1 yes, 1 no. Take a piece of chleb, piece of bread. 1 bread is yes, 1 bread is no. Ingredients the same. Flour, water, yeast, little bit of salt, 1 yes, 1 no. What makes something kosher? Shehita, animals, chicken, is a very involved process. Like the rabbi said, it came out in Torah. People in the morning got up. We saw God. We saw the heavens. It was difficult to make Shehita. Granted, there's a little problem with that. But who was the first shochet in the Torah? Do you know? No? Who was the first shochet in the Torah?
No.
Who was the first shochet in the Torah? Avram's son. Which son? Yishmael. Yishmael was the first shochet in the Torah. Yeah. He was the first. No, the second one was?
Ishmael's son.
Who? Esav. Yaakov's brother. In the weeks ago, when we talked about Yitzchak, and Yitzchak gave the brachot to Yaakov, and he didn't give it to Esav. Esav was the oldest child. Yitzchak tells Esav, go out and make sure your knife is sharp. Make sure you make a good shechita. So shechita is involved. Shechita is very important. But before we get to shechita, the whole idea of kosher is more important. We have to understand why kosher. Why do Jewish people eat kosher? Why? What's the difference? The difference is because it says in the Medrash, we are different. Jewish people are different from the other people in the world. Medrash tells us so much that really Hashem wanted Jewish people should walk straight up like this, like we walk. Goyim people should walk on all fours, like a cow, like a horse. That's how really Hashem wanted to make the world. The only one that was similar to Adam, to walk erect, to walk standing up, was the snake. That's why originally there was the problem in Gan Eden with the snake, with Adam. But only Jews should be walking upright. We're different than them. We're completely different. We're totally different. I have a friend who's a rabbi. In Muncie, he has a shul in Muncie. He says he came in one morning to shul for shachrit in the morning, and there's a fellow crying. He says, "What's wrong?" He says, "My wife is very sick in the hospital." He says, "But they have to make an operation on her head. And if they make the operation, she will not be able to walk." So the rabbi, my friend, he tells him, "Listen to me. Hashem says, it's a special sentence in the Torah that says, go to a doctor. You know that? Without a special sentence in the Torah to say, go to the doctor, you're not allowed to go to a doctor. Because Hashem made you sick. Hashem make you better. Special sentence in the Torah says, go to the doctor. You're sick? Go to the doctor. He says, the doctor can make you better. Doctor can make you healthy, can say, give you medicine, make an operation. Doctor cannot say a death sentence. Doctor can only say positive. He says negative, you don't have to listen to it. We're going to take all of Tehillim, all of the Tehillim. And the Tehillim is balanced against the Chumash, against the Torah. We're going to say all Tehillim this morning, right after Shachrit, and let's hope that your wife gets better. They said Tehillim. They did the operation. His wife got better. 2 days later, the wife's father comes to the rabbi. He says to the rabbi, what did you do? He says, what do you mean what we did? He said Tehillim. Tehillim is magic. Tehillim works. Tehillim makes you fuah, makes somebody healthy. He says, Rabbi, you don't understand. I'm not religious. I'm a doctor. It's my daughter. They had to cut out from the brain the part that makes her able to walk. She's walking. They cut out from the brain the piece that makes a person able to walk. They cut it out. It's not there. She's walking. Well, how did you do that? He says, Tehillim. Tehillim. Jews are different. We are different composition. It's not the same like the rest of the people. Hashem gives us different mitzvahs. Jewish people have 613 mitzvahs. Positive, negative. Goyim, good Goyim, honest Goyim, nice people have 7 mitzvahs. A Goy does 7 mitzvahs, he's a good person. But Jews, we have 613 mitzvahs. We are different. God relates to us differently. We relate to God differently. God speaks to us, we speak to God. And He listens. One of the mitzvahs is to eat kosher. One. It's a bigger, worse thing, a person who would shave with a razor. A person who would shave with a razor, a straight razor. I didn't say a razor in Russian. Is worse than eating a hot dog from Nathan's Hot Dogs in Coney Island. It's a big aveira. It's 5 aveiros when you would shave with a razor. 5 times. If a person would shave with a razor. Much bigger than eating a Nathan hot dog. Much worse than eating a pizza in the street. So why are we so concerned? Why do we pick the mitzvah of kosher so important? Why is the mitzvah of kosher so important? Other mitzvahs are bigger schar, bigger reward. Hashem says, you're important people. Listen to your mother, listen to your father. It's one of the 10 Aseres HaDibros. Number 4. Number 4. This week in the Parsha is 4. Number 4. Doesn't say kosher is Aseres HaDibros. So why are we emphasizing? How to say emphasizing? Malinka, I could say, but emphasize is big. It's important. Why so important the kosher? It's not in the Aseres HaDibros. Let's take other things first. Lo sirtzach is in Aseres HaDibros. Don't kill somebody.
Good.
Aseres HaDibros. Don't swear with God's name. Shabbos. Why kosher so important? There was an issue many years ago. Went to Rabbi Kamenetsky. He was a big Rav. He came from Russia when he first came to America. Then he was the head rabbi in Yeshiva Torah Vadas. Then he used to live in Monsey. Somebody had a dilemma, a question. He said he's becoming religious. Every few months, every little bit, he makes more mitzvah, more mitzvah, more mitzvah. He's ready now to make a big mitzvah. He does small mitzvahs. He puts on tzitzis. He goes to shul in the morning. He's good, but now he wants to do a big mitzvah. He said, what's your choose? What do you want? He says, either I'm going to do Shabbos or eat kosher. Shabbos is not Aseres HaDibros. Kosher is not Aseres HaDibros. He says, what should I pick? Which one would I pick to do first? Eventually I'll do all the mitzvahs. But today, the next step, I'm going to do a big, what should I do? Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky told them, eat kosher. Kosher before Shabbos. Shabbos Aseres HaDibros. Kosher not Aseres HaDibros. Why? Why kosher is so important? Because kosher goes into the body. Kosher, when you eat kosher, goes into the body and attaches you to Hashem. When you eat not kosher, it separates a person from Hashem. It changes the body. Our body is made to eat kosher. Our body needs the kosher food, and the not kosher food is not good. So the whole picture of kosher is very important for a Jewish person. That we attach to Hashem. Hashem wants us to be special. Hashem makes us special. Our body reacts differently. That's why kosher is so important. Kosher is a very, very important item. 2 pieces of bread. One kosher, one not kosher. They look the same. What's the difference? Bread is a special item. We're not allowed to eat bread that my neighbor baked that is not a non-Jew. The same ingredients. He even bought a new oven to bake for me because he's my friend. A guy makes bread, we're not allowed to eat it. Bakeries were an exception. Bakeries was an exception. But my neighbor came to me, he said, I made you a bread, a present. I said, thank you, but I cannot take the bread from you. But I made a special oven, I bought a special pot. I made sure everything was kosher. You baked it, I cannot touch it. Hashem wants us to wine. Wine. All that's in a bottle of wine is grape juice. You crush the grapes, you let it sit. If you want, you add yeast. You don't add yeast. But grape juice, nothing is in it. It comes from the ground. I didn't make it. It doesn't need a knife with shechita. Grape juice. No. Comes to grape, only a Jew can work in the factory. When you're making wine, only religious Jew can work in the factory. It's worked by machine today. They pick the grapes by machine, they crush by machine, all controlled by Jews. You can't have the guy work the machine. The same item. That's how much effect we have to be connected to Hashem. So that's just in general, just an idea of kosher. Kosher is very, very important because it affects us, it changes us. A person who eats kosher gets changed. A person who only eats kosher, everybody eats kosher. Milk is kosher. Fruit is kosher. Vegetables are kosher. But some people eat not only kosher. That's a problem. Kosher is very, very important because it goes into us, it changes us. There is a Ramban. Ramban was many, many hundreds of years ago, who wrote on many subjects. He writes that when a person eats a piece of meat, he elevates the meat to become part of him. There are levels of items in the world. There's a stone that doesn't change. There's a plant, a tree that grows. There's an animal that walks. Then there's a people above that. The animal, when he gets eaten by a person, becomes part of the person. It gets elevated to be into the person. That's what the Ramban says. And animals that are not kosher, kushanina, right? Kushanina, that's the no good animals. That makes bad for the person. That makes bad for the person. Cow, karova, that it has to be kosher, it has to be done properly. But that's the idea of kosher. Kosher has to be, it gets into the person. You eat it, and it becomes part of you. It brings you up or it brings you down. It brings you lower or higher. The fishes, shark. You know how to say shark in Russian? You don't put that. There's a shark. A shark is not a kosher animal. Not a kosher fish. A shark has no bones. You know that? All the not kosher fish have no bones. They only have what we call cartilage, no bones. Salmon has bones. Tuna has bones. Shark has no bones. The shark meat, if a person eats shark meat, brings him down, makes his body not work properly. So that's, in general, in big ideas between kosher and not kosher, Jewish and not Jewish. Let's talk now about the kosher process for chicken or meat. Doesn't say anything. All the parts of shechita, not in SRS, not in the Chum. It says by a few places, v'shochat, by karbonos, in the Beis HaMikdash, it says the word v'shochat. Doesn't tell me any particulars. What do I have to know? Where do I shech? Do I shech? What part of the animal do I have to cut in order for it to be kosher shechita? Nothing in the Chumash. All the particulars, all the ideas of shechita is given to us. Moshe Rabbeinu to Yehoshua, Yehoshua to the Zekanim. It went all one Rabbi to the Talmud. Rabbi to Talmud. That's how we know all the dinim of shechita. Where do we shech? We shech across the neck. We have to cut the trachea and the esophagus. The trachea is the windpipe that brings the air into the lung, The esophagus brings the food into the belly. Those are the two pieces we have to cut. It's better to cut the veins also. There are big veins in the neck in the animal. Big veins that pump the blood. It's very good to cut them. But it's not required by Jewish law. It's not required. The trachea, the esophagus. The corner, the veishut. That's what we have to cut. And once it's cut, the animal can still be blinking with his eyes. He could be moving with his head. A Jew can go over to the animal and cut off an ear and eat it. You can cut away a piece of meat from the neck because you have available from the skin. You can eat it. Shehita does not automatically kill the animal immediately. Does not kill him immediately. Shehita, in time, the animal will die. As soon as you shecht, the animal's eatable. Before you shecht. What do you use to shecht? We have a special shape of a knife. We have a special shape of the knife when we shecht. For large animals, we use a knife like this. It's almost 20 inches long. Yeah, the polish that makes it look nice, that's not necessary. The long is necessary. That over here there's no point is necessary. That over here I can sharpen till the bottom is necessary.
What do you mean?
Over here, the handle is not from over here. The over here is open, so I can sharpen all the way to the end. That's necessary. The shiny it looks nice. It looks nice. Like no. I can cut 1, 2, 3, 4. I can go 5, 6. As long as I don't stop, I keep going back and forth. If I don't stop, it's still kosher. What? Yeah, if you don't push a little bit, you won't cut. You have to push a little bit. I don't know if the animal, I don't think the animal has feeling in the neck. In the neck, he has no, right. Like a person, you have more feeling in the finger here than you would have feeling over here. There are different amounts of nerve endings, different places. But after we make a shehita, the animal can stand there 5 seconds, 7 seconds before it falls down. It doesn't get upset from the shehita. It doesn't get upset. It gets more upset being held until the shehita. But after the shehita, we release it 5 seconds, 7 seconds, 10 seconds before it falls down. So we have a special knife for the shehita. A special knife. Then we have to cut. We cut across the neck. The animal, if it's an animal, the animal falls down. The chicken falls down. The next step is we wait for all the blood to come out. We don't eat blood. Very bad, even from kosher animals. We don't eat blood. In Poland, they make a soup, a duck soup with blood, a blood soup. In Mexico, the Spanish people have a tonic from cow blood. But Jews don't eat blood. Liver we're allowed to eat. Liver we can eat. But not blood. We don't drink blood. We want to take the blood out of the animal. How do we take the blood out of the animal?
Drain.
God made a special item. He made salt. Salt draws. Salt draws out the blood. A person has an infection on his finger and it has pus. How do you say pus? You see, you guys know English. It has pus in his finger. You soak it. Molly. I didn't know there was a difference in the two cups. They looked the same. I got the wrong cup. The guy gave me 2 cups. Now I know why. You have pus. You put in salt water, and you put your finger in the salt water. You feel the pus pulls out. The salt pulls out, and it pulls out the blood also. We want to get rid of the salt. We pull it out because with the salt. There's another way of pulling out the salt, the blood. We go ahead and we put the meat on a fire, on a grill. You take a kosher. I used to work in a factory. Monday morning was shechita. Monday lunch was fresh meat. And now, 2 hours later, we're eating meat. We didn't have the process of koshering it. We didn't have the salt there. What did we do? We bought a grill, and we put the meat on the grill. The heat, the grill pulls the blood out. Nobody here is a plumber, but if a person who's a plumber knows, when you make soldering, you put the heat over here, you put the solder at the coldest spot, and the heat pulls the solder into the joint. It pulls it in, because it pulls it toward the heat. Blood, Hashem made blood, works the same way. The heat pulls the blood toward it. That's how different things Hashem made in the world that help us, that make the world go. So we have to soak, we have to salt the meat, or we grill it in order to pull out all the blood. You can eat the meat. Not all the meat. Cut over cow, goat, and sheep. The animals that they used in the Beis HaMikdash for a carbon, certain fats we're not allowed to eat. We're not allowed to eat certain fats from those animals. We have to clean out certain fats. Certain veins we clean out because the blood won't come out from those veins. We have to open them up and take them away. There's a process. The meat has to go to a person who knows which veins we take out, which fat we take out, and then we can salt the meat, pull out the blood. Grill the meat, pull out the blood. Then we can eat the meat. So it takes time. And people, I remember my mother used to salt the meat in the house. We went to the butcher, plain meat. Not plain meat that wasn't kosher. Plain meat that was just from the shechita into the butcher store. He didn't do anything to the meat. Meat came from the shechita to the butcher store, to my mother's house, and in the kitchen, she would have a pail to soak the meat. First we soak the meat to make the meat soft. It separates the fibers, it opens it up, and the blood can, and the salt gets in very well. And then she would salt it, rinse it, then we could eat the meat. There's a process of getting out the blood. Even on a kosher meat, we don't eat the blood. Only one kind of blood we can eat. You know which blood we can eat? Not so fast. Liver almost. No. Blood from fishes. Blood from fishes we're allowed to eat. Fish do not need shechita. Fishes we're allowed to eat the blood from fishes. Fat from fishes. All the fats of the fish we're allowed to eat. You know about Noach and the Teva, who God destroyed the world, right? In the ark. Which animal didn't go into the Teva? The fish. The fish remained the same before the Mabul, after the Mabul. Remained the same. Everything else changed. The chicken changed, the cow changed, the horses changed, everything changed. Because the ones that were saved, but after they came out, the whole world changed. The fishes stayed the same. Fishes stayed clean. Fishes never did anything wrong. God destroyed the animals. He destroyed the birds. He destroyed the worms. The fishes He never destroyed. They were not part of the model. Where'd they stay? Where'd they stay? So some Medrash says the fish stayed around the ark. Because around the ark Hashem made it safe. That's just a little beginning to Shehita, to kosher meat, kosher in general.
Practically speaking, how many animals can a shochet do with the plant every day?
Practically speaking is a not fair question. You drive a car, you ever have a flat tire? Yeah, you have a flat tire sometimes, right? Sometimes. What?
You can't stand it also.
Right. You go, when you change a tire on a car today, you go to a shop who has a jack, it goes pump, 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 and the car is up. He has automatic tools to take off the tire, right? You have to ask me, are we killing animals the same way we killed animals in 1700 and 1800? Or is it different? Do we have machinery? If I have machinery, everything changes.
So the plant.
In a plant, we have machinery.
So many.
And in a big factory, it's possible to process 500, 800 animals a day kosher.
One person.
No, not one person. A factory.
One person. How many?
One person can shech every 3 minutes, every 2 minutes, one animal.
The same knife, we have to change it.
He has to inspect the knife. After every shechita, we have to inspect the knife.
The same person does it differently.
Some factories, if they have a big staff, a lot of people, a special person to check the knife, special person to sharpen the knife, special person to do the shechita. In a big factory, and they rotate because it's a big shechita, so they'll rotate. I do 5 animals, and I go to check knife, and a different person goes to cut. Then a different person changes position from inspecting to shechting, from shechting to sharpening. They go ahead and they rotate. Yeah. It has to slide smooth like lace.
Definitely, dam yesh nefesh. Dam yesh nefesh.
There's 2 different types of dam. There's dam ha-nefesh and plain dam. Are we allowed to eat either one? Dam nefesh is not allowed to eat. Regular dam is not allowed to eat.
Dam is blood.
Dam is blood. Both of them you're not allowed to eat. The punishment is different. The punishment is different. But the no is no this, no this. Only dam we can eat is dam fish. Fish we're allowed to eat.
Question. When you check, for example, the chicken, I had a question about specifically. When they check before they prepare, they check the wings. If the one wing is broken, it's not kosher no more, correct?
A broken wing, let's put it as a question. A broken wing, does it automatically make the chicken not kosher? No, depending where it's broken. A broken wing in the package when you buy it, where did it get broken? Where did it get broken? So, one first starts the conversation. You buy the chicken in a kosher store. The factory they buy the chicken from has people doing inspection to see if it's broken wings. Is it possible that something went wrong? That somebody missed something? It's always possible. Usually, a broken wing happens in the processing, after the shechita. Usually. There are so many people in a chicken factory that handle the chicken. They look at the chicken. USDA looks at the chicken. To say that it was a broken wing beforehand in a place that would make it not kosher, very, very seldom. Very seldom. A person responsible, it would say, I have a broken wing, I bring it back to the store. I have a broken wing, I call my rabbi. I have a broken wing, I have to ask somebody. But to say that usually it's a problem, not usual. Not usual.
Rabbi, when we are talking about blood vessels, supposed to be cut just on the veins or after it too?
Okay, so arteries and veins. You know the difference between arteries and veins? You know the difference? You know the difference? No, I know somebody didn't know that. Arteries and veins. Arteries is like this. Arteries take the blood from the heart, let's say to the leg. That's an artery. From the leg back to the heart, that's a vein. They both carry blood. Arteries are pumping, and veins are not pumping. Correct? Now you know. When a person gets hardening of the arteries, you never get hardening of the veins. Only hardening of the arteries. Plaque forms in the arteries, not in the veins. The same, they're different. It sounds like they do the same job, but they're different. They work differently. The same way in the throat is the kana and vesha, the trachea and the esophagus. You never saw, I should have brought you to see. They lay one on top of the other. They're attached, one on top of the other. Right? But they are so totally opposite. The trachea and the esophagus are totally opposite. If you ever swallow a big piece of cake, a big piece of cookie, it was a big ball, and you can swallow it. You know why? Because the esophagus is soft. It's soft. It stretches. It can stretch. The trachea cannot stretch. The trachea is cartilage. It looks like rings. It's cartilage. It's stiff. You know why? Because if it would be soft and you breathe, it would collapse. Hashem made, they lay one right on top of the other. Totally different function, totally different material, totally different, how the anatomy of the body is different. The same artery and vein. One is carrying positive, one negative, one to the leg, one away from the leg, one to the arm, away from the arm. We usually discuss veins and arteries interchangeably. The strict law is not to cut the arteries and veins. The strict law is to cut the esophagus, the food pipe, the trachea, the windpipe. That's the strict law. It doesn't die so fast, the animal. But that's what's required to make it a kosher animal to eat. A big garbage can. No, it's not a wrong question. In every factory, when you're doing handwork, there's always a miss. 1 out of 100, 1 out of 300.
Let's say I cut the esophagus, but I didn't cut the trachea, whatever.
You lose it. You lose it.
So
You lose it.
why not sell it to Goyim?
Lose it because of to sell it for a kosher kill. For sure. They sell it to not kosher people. It has to be labeled, it has to be marked. In some factories, depending on the volume, depending on the chicken factory, when there's a problem in the Shehita area, there's no way to recover it because it's all mixed up. We have to throw it in the garbage. Other factories, depending where it is in the system that they have the problem, then they can mark it, they can segregate it, they can move it to the side, and they can sell it to non-kosher. When I was in a chicken factory, we used to sell to the Muslims, the halal, all our problems, chicken problems. But we couldn't sell them treif chickens because they wouldn't want to buy treif chickens. It's a bad word, treif chickens. They were non-salted because we didn't salt them. Which is true. They were kosher killed, but And they have no restrictions that there has to be how they cut the neck. So we would sell them to the Muslims.
When you, after you shop it, the cow, how long you have time to soak and salt?
Okay. We're told that in 72 hours, 3 days, 72 hours, the blood will dry up in the body, in the meat of the animal. 72 hours. But we can work with that. If you soak the meat, you have another 72 hours. When do you count your 72 hours? From when you take it out of the water. In the factory, you shech. Before the meat goes into the cooler, they wash it with a hose. They look at it. Your 72 hours start when they wash the meat. The meat goes into the butcher store. Rosh Hashanah, 2 days, no work. Memorial Day, Shavuos, 2 days, no work. What do? They wash the meat, and you have 3 more days.
Rabbi Hill,
What's the difference between kosher, blood kosher, and blood kosher Yosef? What's the difference? Three types of kosher.
There's only one kosher.
No, but why we say kosher, blood kosher?
I'll tell you. There's one, kosher is kosher. If it's kosher, it's kosher. If the nose is kosher, the tail is kosher. It's one animal. If the right leg is kosher, the left leg is kosher. There's one animal. We don't eat from the back of the animal. In the United States, we do not eat the back half of the animal. There's different veins we have to take out. Different parts we take out. We're not learned. It's involved. Economics.
But you can make kosher, yeah?
What?
Back, you can make kosher.
100% you can make kosher. If you know how, if you are trained. The same way I can cut and make a kosher animal or chicken, there are other people who know how to take out the fat, take out the veins, and make the back kosher too. 100%. Front is kosher, back is kosher. We don't eat it because it needs a process.
It's more expensive, yeah?
Economics.
Yeah, economics.
The plain kosher, kalat kosher, kosher Bet Yosef, has to usually works on the inspection of the lungs. Usually, it relies on the inspection of the lungs. If the lungs have some minor deformity, I won't call it a problem, a deformity. How do you say deformity in English? You know how to say that? The defect, but it's a minor defect. It can still be kosher. Some people say, with a defect, some people buy shirts with a small defect. Irregulars, we call them. Some people don't want to buy irregulars. Right? So the same thing, plain kosher, glatt kosher, Bet Yosef kosher, there are different defects that some people will say it's a defect, it's a physical, it's defect, it still remains kosher. What she wanted to ask.
But I heard that Spartan would eat back in animals.
I would eat back animal too.
But Spartan, I mean, could you eat or not? If they sell in the store?
If there's a rov on the store, a reliable rov on the store, in Flatbush, SBD is a Sephardi Hechsher, BYL, what's his name? Rabbi Cohen, BYL. He's a reliable person. If he says it's kosher, you don't have to ask, is it from the right side, from the left side, from the front or the back? You don't have to ask that question. If it's a reliable person, that doesn't mean you can go into any store, but a reliable store. You know, some people don't eat the right side of the animal. You know that? Yeah, why not? Why not? Why not?
They sleep on the right side, no?
What?
The pressure is all on the right side.
No, nothing with pressure. In pressure, you take blood pressure pills.
There's no heart?
Maybe there's no heart. No heart. My wife says I have no heart, but everybody else has a heart. Without a heart, there's no blood will flow.
The sides, the different sides.
We're about to finish this. The right side, there's a special mitzvah. The animal is kosher. The meat is kosher. There's a special mitzvah of giving to a kohen. Anybody here a kohen? There's a special mitzvah. The kohen's job was to work in the Beis HaMikdash. The kohen's job was busy. He didn't have any farms. When the Jews came to Israel, the kohen didn't get any land to make houses, to have farms. He had to work in the Beis HaMikdash. He had to learn Torah. He had to teach Torah. So Hashem says, from every animal that's shechted, the right arm, the tongue, and the jaw, and one of the four stomachs of the animal, you give to the kohen. Every animal, everyone that's shechted, there's a mitzvah to give to the kohen. Anybody can eat it, but it's a mitzvah to give to the kohen. The jaw with the tongue, the arm, and one of the four stomachs. That's called the keva. The keva is the one that they make the cheese from. That's called the rennet in English. So that part had to go from every single animal to some kohen. So there are people who said that belongs to the kohen. I don't want to eat the right arm from the animal. There are people like that. They don't want to eat it.
After you do a shot and you make a mistake, you have to get
No. The only one place I used to trade knives. I love that place because I used to buy a lot of knives. But for us, if the knife goes bad, we have to resharpen it. We polish it, we sharpen it with stones, finer stones, with a cloth, with finer powder, and then if it's smooth and it's sharp, we use it again.
So the kosher and non-kosher cows in both at the same auction.
Right.
They treat the animals with antibiotics and this and that. So it doesn't matter what kind of kosher meat we buy. It's still been antibiotic or other growth hormones being used in raising that.
The raising of the animal is still a kosher animal. If they raise it with hormones or antibiotic free, or if they raise it on a vegetarian diet, they raise it organic. All these different things is the raising of the animal. It will affect what we discussed before, kosher, glad, Beit Yosef. It will affect that part. It will not affect the plain if it's going to be usable. We're allowed to have antibiotics in the animals. We're allowed to have that, yes. Might not be the healthiest. Some people don't want it. They buy organic.
Other than lungs, which other parts of the body are being checked?
Okay, so let's start the opposite way. Why are we checking the lungs? Do we always check the lungs? So the answer is lungs on animals. Sheep, goat, beef. Karova, sheep, and goat. We check the lungs. Every animal that I check, I work two people together. One by the Shehita, and one where they open the animal, and he goes ahead and inspects the lungs. Because the lungs on animals are often, not always, often have problems. That's where we find problems. We find problems, we have to check for it. We can't go like this and say no problem.
The liver also didn't check.
No.
Dark spots, yeah? If you have the dark spots?
There are 18 different problems that could be. A cow, if it has a hole in the skin, in the membrane over the brain, is not kosher. A goat that has a hole in the heart is not kosher.
The worms in the brain, yeah?
The worms in the brain does not make it not kosher. It's only sometimes during the year, but it doesn't make the animal not kosher.
The satmars, they don't eat if it has worms. Satmars.
Right? No. So, erase that line. But we'll talk about that some other time. The worms come into the lungs also sometimes. Inside the lungs, if there's worms, we won't eat the worms. It doesn't make it not kosher. Worms in the brain does not make it not kosher. Means you cannot eat the worms. Worms in fish, we do not eat the worms. Doesn't make the fish not kosher. A disease in the lung makes the animal not kosher. If there's a hole in the heart, makes the animal not kosher. But I don't check for that. Maybe 1 in 20,000 have a hole in the heart. Maybe 1 in 50,000. I don't have to go check for that. I don't have to think like that. There's an idea we use is the usual. There's usual. There's percentage, 90%, 80%. The usual. If it's usual, we let it go. I buy milk. The cow's walking around. Maybe it's not kosher, the cow. Maybe there's a disease inside. Maybe. Chicken lays eggs. Maybe there's a disease in the chicken. Maybe. I don't have to think. I don't have to think. Lungs, I'm required to check. And chickens, we check the kishkas. The kishka. That's how we check in the chickens.
That's Russian.
What? Right. In chickens and turkeys, we check the lungs also. Some check all the lungs, some check some of the lungs, but different animals and different countries. And different countries have different requirements because they have different diseases. What disease is prevalent? What disease is usual? We have to be worried about. If it's not a usual disease, did you ever open up, you made a salad, you opened up a pepper, and you found a worm in the pepper during the summer? You find a little green worm in the pepper, or in an apple? You find, do you have to check for worms in peppers? No, it's not usual. Occasionally, sometimes it happens. The only time you always find the worm is, you know where? You don't know where you always find the worm?
Green leaves.
You know where you always find the worm? In the tequila. In the bottom of the bottle, in the tequila, you find the worm in every bottle. That's the only place you find worms. You can't eat the worm. You can't eat that worm. Tequila you can drink, but you can't eat the worm. Tequila is good, but not the worm. Not the worm. And then you find the worm all the time.
Окей, микс есть определенный вид текила, в котором делают это червяк. Есть с скорпионом, есть с червяком, есть с змеей. Но его самого тоже едят. Текила шикарная, но в городе. То есть текилу можно это пить, но его нельзя. Это спорный вопрос.
And has to work in the meat section. If he touches a piece of the meat, does that mean not kosher anymore?
No, because if he touches a piece of meat, the meat still will be washed before it gets out of the factory. When people get the meat, they wash it again. And there are inspectors that, besides the kosher rabbi, there are inspectors that do not allow transfer from one area to another area. I worked in a factory. One day, we couldn't work for 3 hours because the inspector saw a fly in the room. A fly in the room in the summertime. It happens. There's a fly in the room. It's called cross-contamination. It stops over here, it goes over here, it goes over there, and everything gets contaminated. So the factory, the inspectors do not allow it to happen. If it happened, if somebody didn't see, that everything is color-coded. They have different color aprons, they have different color gloves to keep it separate. Somebody made a mistake. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it usual? No. What do? You wash the meat, and that's enough. Right? Oh, then you can't cook the meat anymore. You can broil it. You can broil the meat. You can grill it. You can grill it. But you can't go ahead and use the salt. The grilling, the heat, pulls out more blood than the salt. So the salt will work for up to 72 hours. After that, you can still grill the meat. You could grill it. You have to make a barbecue. invite me, make you barbecue.
Yurman, just a question I'm sure on many people's minds is the price of the kosher meat is very big difference.
Because I have a job.
Here's the question, the big gap in the price, in your opinion, is it justifiable in your experience, or is it more it's a monopoly?
If the price of the meat was, the fact is it is different. We agree it's different. It's 100% different. If the profit from the business was so much, there'd be a much more people making the business. The profit in the business is not that much. The food for chickens, for kosher chickens, is different than plain chickens. The food is different because you need food that doesn't make the chicken so fatty. The chicken, if it gets too fatty, the feathers won't pull out with cold water. Nobody's going to buy the chicken.
Rabbi, very important question. It's about other. Can we, Jewish people, eat other than...
This year we have 2 Adars. Now is Shvat. In 2 weeks is going to be Adar Aleph and Adar Beis.
So others is halal.
Yes, I know. I was making a joke. What is the other? The other is the piece of. The other is a gland. The other only a cow has an udder, and only the udder is used when the cow has a baby. It fills up with milk. There's in the body different types of liquids. The urine, the bile is in a bag, a thin skin like a plastic skin, and it's loose. It's liquid. You can make a hole and you can pour it out. The other is more like fat, and in the fat is the milk. The cow gets the milk after it has a calf. After the baby, that's when it has the milk. Can we eat the udder? 100%. If the nose is kosher, the tail is kosher, the right side, the left side, the udder, it's all kosher, except the worms. But it's all kosher.
So chickens are raised in a kosher way because you said there was...
The feed is different
for the kosher chicken.
for the kosher chicken.
But not for the cow.
Depending who. It's not that necessary because we don't have to pluck feathers. The chicken, you want a high protein for the chicken. You don't want fat underneath the skin. If there's fat underneath the skin, you won't pull out the feathers well. But when it comes to the other, the Gemara tells us that Hashem was good to the Jewish people. God was good to us. What did He do? He said everything that God made not kosher, with restriction, do not eat, He made something else that's kosher, you're allowed to eat. He doesn't want to restrict us. He doesn't want us not to enjoy the world. There was a famous rabbi who used to go to Switzerland every year vacation between school sessions. And he would say to the students, did you go to Switzerland? Did you see the Alps? God's going to ask you. I made Alps. I made the big mountains. You should see, you should enjoy them. Why didn't you go look at them? God made the other. We should be able to have the same flavor as basar v'chol. We don't eat cheeseburgers. A hamburger with a slice of cheese, we're not allowed to eat. Cream sauce, chicken and cream sauce, we're not allowed to eat. An other, we're allowed to eat. God balanced us that we're able to have kosher. What's not kosher, we have a choice, a similar, that's yes kosher. The other is the balance for milk and meat together.
What if you travel for work or for vacation and there is no place you can eat kosher?
Today in America, that does not. I never went to Bangkok. I can't answer. I can't answer. But in America, Chabad House is almost all over the world. But today it's almost impossible not to be able to have kosher. It's almost impossible. A little bit of thinking, and 99% you'll be able to have kosher. Even in China, the plain rice is kosher because they cook it as a very clean item. They don't put in any oil, they don't put in any salt. The traditional, I don't know what they do today, the traditional rice in China was acceptable all over because it was kept very, very clean. Today I can't dance, I don't know. There's raw fish, they're all through Japan. There are raw fish in all the sushis and in other restaurants. There's raw fish, vegetables, fruit. They bring fruit and vegetables all over the world today. Today, but we can travel with cans, with pouches, with matzah, with crackers. A little bit thinking, it's not the issue it was 100 years ago. We have packaging, we have freeze dried, we have such availability today. You just have to. Nobody says, here's a ticket, go right to JFK right now. Nobody says that. You have warning. You prepare your clothing suitcase. Prepare your food suitcase. I traveled all over, and I prepared. I took with me. I was in South America. I was able to function very well. I was in Europe. I was able to function without any problem. Restricted, yeah, but no problems. If a person uses a not kosher knife, and now he cuts a fruit, can you eat that fruit?
Rabbi Yurman, thank you very much for a wonderful shur. Give it up for Rabbi Yurman.